I think optimism is probably a good way of describing the current state of crypto markets. I think we've had a very long and quite transparently, quite brutal winter across the space. I mean, you guys were just talking about some of these things, but it seems like now a lot of that has shaken out. There's a lot less regulatory uncertainty about some of the large players, Coinbase, Finance, some of these large names we're starting to see a lot less uncertainty around. You've seen a lot of the bad actors get shaken out, and we've seen the industry really consolidate and double down. And I think you're seeing now the fruits of basically 18 months of people working on things. I think Bitcoin's certainly leading some of that narrative today between the halving, the ETF, and some of the interesting market dynamics that have happened there. But I think it's broadly true across the industry.
Like you were mentioning, Ophelia, we're waiting on the possibility of the SEC approval of a Bitcoin ETF. How much of that do you think has been priced into some of these crypto coins, including Bitcoin? And how much more and potential further room could there be for an asset class like that?
So I think people have to some extent priced in the expectation of an approval, but I think there's a little bit of mispricing there still. The reason being, crypto has never really seen big American style asset management money. It's never been possible really for them to enter the space. There's been a little bit of RIA money. There's been a little bit of sort of other institutional money, but it's tiny compared to, what is a couple of basis points on a multi-trillion dollar industry. It's very different. And so quantum larger than most market participants in crypto currently have ever seen in terms of what that allocation really looks like once you start to get away from pure play retail or ultra sophisticated institutions. So I think the issue is to some extent, yes, to some extent, no. I think it's going to take longer to see that money come in than most people are currently expecting, but I think it will be larger than what most people are currently expecting.
What makes you say that, Ophelia? Because I'm wondering that it's not like Bitcoin has been inaccessible to people at this point. I know to traders, they're really looking forward to ETFs just for trading and what they can do with those. But are there really people on the sidelines right now who are interested in getting into crypto who haven't?
So think about it really simply. Most people don't manage their own money, right? Whether that's your 401k or your IRA or, you're working with a financial advisor of some kind or, your local RIA, wherever that it is that you are. None of those structures have ever been able to really access this space. It's really difficult for an advisor to, support a client making that allocation. Historically, that's just been, I'm so sorry, we can't help you, try Coinbase. It's very different when an advisor can actually make a strategic allocation or a client can request a strategic allocation from their advisor. It's a very different structure to that. So it's not people waiting on the sidelines per se. It's just most people's money is tied up in other ways. And, I set up my entire company with the goal of helping my mom get into the space. She started talking to me about this in 2014, saying, there's this really cool thing called Bitcoin. Have you heard of it? I have no idea what you're talking about. But
she's the one who told you about it?
Yeah, that's
pretty amazing. That's not
story.
Usually. Yeah, tell us a little more about that because that's not typically something we hear when it comes to crypto.
My mom's brilliant and came to me one day and said, Merck spends too much money on hedging and global monetary policy is too reliant on an assumption of geopolitical stability to work long term. We need an alternative. It's going to help ensure better cross-border trading and be a long-term tool for economic stability and peace. Have you heard of a thing called Bitcoin? I have no idea what you're talking about, but okay. And that's actually how I started looking at crypto. But my mom, interestingly, despite completely getting the point, both on the monetary policy perspective as well as on the Forex side, she never actually made the allocation. The reason she didn't make the allocation is that there was no way within her existing financial infrastructure, the way she does her tax reporting, the way she works with her advisors, that was going to make it possible for her to come into the space.